The sun beat down on the endless, dry expanse of the Serengeti, turning the sky into a hazy, shimmering blue. For a lion named Kion, solitude was a way of life. His magnificent mane, dark as a moonless night, was a testament to his years of conflict, each scar a story etched in time. Kion was a wanderer, a king without a pride, driven from his territory after a brutal fight that left him wounded and alone. He survived on cunning and raw strength, his roars echoing in the quiet mornings, not as a declaration of dominance, but as a lonely cry to a world that had forgotten him. One sweltering afternoon, the air thick with the scent of dust and heat, Kion was searching for shade near a rocky outcrop. He was tired, his powerful muscles aching from a long, fruitless hunt. Suddenly, a sound, faint but desperate, cut through the silence. It wasn't the call of a gazelle or the snort of a wildebeest, but a series of high-pitched, almost human-like whimpers. Kion's ears swiveled, his instincts on high alert. He followed the sound, his heavy paws silent on the cracked earth. What he found sent a jolt through his weary body. Huddled at the base of a small, thorny acacia tree was a tiny bundle of black fur, a baby gorilla no bigger than a house cat. It was trembling, its large, dark eyes filled with terror. A few feet away, a pack of hyenas, their unsettling cackles a chilling chorus, was closing in. They were a menacing sight, their sloped backs and gleaming eyes promising a swift, brutal end. The gorilla was a long, long way from its forest home in the highlands, a tragic accident of nature or a cruel twist of fate. How it came to be in the middle of the savannah was a mystery, but its imminent demise was not. Kion had no reason to intervene. The law of the wild dictated that he should observe or perhaps even take advantage of the hyena's distraction. But something in the gorilla's gaze, a plea for life so profound and pure, resonated with a part of Kion he thought was long dead. Without a second's hesitation, the lonely king of the savannah let out a thunderous roar, a sound that shook the very ground. He charged, a blur of muscle and fury, straight at the hyenas. They scattered, surprised and terrified by the sudden aggression of a predator they couldn't hope to challenge. Kion stood over the whimpering gorilla, a silent guardian, his breath still heavy with the effort of the charge. The baby gorilla looked up at him, and for a moment the two creatures from entirely different worlds shared a silent understanding. Kion had saved it, but now, what would he do? If you're enjoying this story, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more incredible real-life dramas. Remember, this is a fictional story created for entertainment. The sun began its slow descent, painting the sky in fiery hues of orange and purple. Kion, the lion who had known only solitude, found himself with an unexpected companion. The baby gorilla, whom he now thought of as Leo, was still terrified, but seemed to sense the lion's protective nature. It would occasionally whimper, burying its face in Kion's thick mane. The lion, in turn, would lie still, allowing the tiny creature to cling to his massive body. This was an arrangement no one in the animal kingdom would have believed possible. A carnivore and a primate, bound by an act of unexpected compassion. Over the next few days, their bond deepened in the most unconventional of ways. Kion would lead Leo from waterhole to waterhole, his intimidating presence keeping other predators at bay. He would share the spoils of his hunts, though the gorilla, a herbivore, could not eat the meat. Instead, Leo would feast on the leaves and fruits from the sparse trees and bushes they passed. Kion would watch him, a strange, possessive warmth growing in his chest. He was no longer just a wanderer. He was a protector. The routine was simple. Travel at dawn and dusk to avoid the blistering midday sun, find water and rest in the cool shade. They were a bizarre duo, a symbol of defiance against the natural order. Other animals, from herds of zebras to lone giraffes, would stop and stare, unable to comprehend the sight. The word of their existence began to spread through the whispers of the wind and the calls of the birds. Kion, once a king without a name, was now known as the Guardian of the Jungle, a title that was as much a mystery as it was a reality. The challenges were immense. They faced a severe drought, the grasslands turning to a brittle, dusty brown. Water was scarce, and Kion, weakened by hunger, struggled to find enough for both of them. He had to be smarter, more cunning, and more patient than ever before. He learned to listen to the birds for signs of water, to track the movements of other animals, to find hidden springs. His solitary life had taught him resilience, but now he had a purpose beyond his own survival. He was fighting for two. The relentless drought was taking its toll. Leo, the baby gorilla, was visibly weaker, his energy fading with each passing day. Kion, too, was a shadow of his former self. His ribs were showing, and the scars on his mane seemed more prominent. He was desperate. After days of endless searching, they finally stumbled upon a small, hidden oasis, a patch of green fed by an underground spring. It was a lifeline in the parched land. Kion guided Leo to the water's edge, watching him drink deeply, a silent relief washing over him. As they rested, a low growl rumbled through the air. Kion's head shot up. The scent was unmistakable. It was another pride, a large and powerful group, led by a formidable male known as Zola, whose territorial instincts were legendary. This was Kion's old pride, the one that had cast him out. Zola saw Kion not as a former leader, but as a rival, an intruder on his territory. And with him he saw the strange, vulnerable creature Kion was protecting. A tense standoff ensued. Zola and his pride surrounded Kion and Leo. The female lions, their eyes filled with suspicion and curiosity, looked at the unusual pairing. Zola's eyes, however, held only contempt. He saw Kion's kindness as weakness, a betrayal of their kind. He roared, a challenge that demanded a fight to the death. Kion, despite his exhaustion, stood his ground, placing his body between Zola and Leo. He wouldn't back down. Not now. The battle was swift and brutal. Kion fought with a ferocity born of desperation and love, a fire in his eyes that Zola couldn't comprehend. He wasn't fighting for dominance. He was fighting for the life of his unlikely companion. The two lions clashed, their roars and snarls echoing across the oasis. The ground trembled beneath their paws. The fight was a blur of teeth and claws, but Kion, though weaker, was more cunning. He used his knowledge of the terrain, feinting and dodging until he saw his opportunity. With a final, powerful lunge, he drove Zola back, a deep gash on his shoulder serving as a grim reminder of the price of his protection. Zola, surprised and bleeding, retreated with his pride, their arrogance shattered by the lone, weary king. Kion collapsed, panting beside the baby gorilla, his body racked with pain. Leo nuzzled his head against the lion's face, a silent act of gratitude. The sun rose, casting a harsh golden light on Kion's still form. He was alive, but barely. The wound from his fight with Zola was deep, jagged, and now visibly infected. A foul odor hung in the air, and Kion's breath came in shallow, ragged gasps. He was too weak to even swat away the flies that buzzed around his face. Leo, sensing his friend's distress, whimpered, nudging Kion's massive head with his small fists. He tried to rouse the lion, but to no avail. The baby gorilla was now completely alone, vulnerable to the very dangers Kion had so fiercely protected him from. He stood guard, his small chest puffing out as if he could somehow take on the world himself. Just as a vulture began to circle ominously high above, a safari jeep appeared on the horizon. It was driven by a young conservationist named Anya. She had been tracking the unusual lion and gorilla duo for weeks, drawn by the incredible stories of their impossible bond that had spread through the local villages. She had heard whispers of the fierce fight and was afraid she would be too late. Anya drove cautiously, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. She was a professional, experienced in handling wild animals, but she had never seen anything like this. A lion, a sworn enemy of her own kind, protecting a gorilla. It was a paradox that defied everything she knew about nature. Anya saw the lion's critical condition and knew she had to act immediately. She approached slowly, her movements deliberate and non-threatening. Leo, seeing the stranger, shrieked, huddling closer to Keon's body. The lion, despite his weakness, lifted his head slightly, a low growl rumbling in his throat, a final exhausted warning. Anya stopped a safe distance away, talking to them in a soft, soothing voice. She spoke of her intentions, her words a gentle plea for trust in a language they couldn't understand but could perhaps feel. She had to take a risk. She had to help. With practiced hands, she prepared a tranquilizer dart, ensuring the dose was minimal to avoid further stress on the lion's weakened body. She fired, and as Keon's heavy body went limp, Anya carefully checked his wound. The infection was severe, but treatable. She worked quickly and efficiently, cleaning and dressing the gash with sterile bandages and antiseptic, her focus unwavering. All the while, she kept a watchful eye on Leo, who was now sitting a few feet away, observing her with an unnerving calm. The baby gorilla, surprisingly, seemed to understand that she was helping. With Keon stable for the moment, Anya then gently picked up Leo, placing him carefully in the back of the jeep. The gorilla didn't resist, as if he knew his fate was now in this kind human's hands, and that she would lead him back to safety. Anya drove them to a remote but well-equipped veterinary station she had set up with her research team. Keon received proper medical attention for his wounds, and a local veterinarian worked tirelessly to stabilize him, providing antibiotics and pain relief. Leo, meanwhile, was fed and cared for, his strength returning with each passing hour. The trust was slowly building between them all. Anya knew she had not only saved 2 lives, but had also witnessed a miracle, a true testament to the power of compassion that knows no species. Weeks passed, and with each passing day Keon's strength returned. His wounds, once raw and angry, were now little more than faint scars hidden beneath his thick, dark mane. He moved with the familiar power of a true king, but the loneliness that had once defined him was gone. He now carried with him the memory of a tiny gorilla, a bond that had fundamentally changed him. He was no longer a solitary wanderer, but a lion with a purpose, a protector who had found something worth fighting for. Meanwhile, in a nearby section of the reserve, Leo was thriving. Anya had been meticulous in his care and had successfully introduced him to a group of young gorillas. They were his peers, his family. He was learning to climb trees with ease, to forage for his favorite fruits and leaves, and to communicate with the grunts and gestures of his own kind. He was finally home. Yet he never forgot the feel of Keon's warm fur or the sound of his low, comforting purr. The memory of the lion who saved his life was an indelible part of who he was. One crisp morning, Anya led Keon to a section of the reserve that bordered the gorilla sanctuary. She wanted to give them one last chance to see each other, a proper farewell. Keon's majestic head lifted, his ears swiveling. He heard the familiar chatter of gorillas and then a distinctive low grunt that made his heart swell. It was Leo. The baby gorilla, now stronger and more confident, spotted his friend. He ran to the fence, his large eyes filled with a recognition that transcended species, a bond that went beyond the wild. Anya watched, her heart full, as Keon approached the fence. The 2 creatures, so different yet so connected, touched noses through the wire. It was a final, silent farewell, a moment of profound understanding that defied all odds. Keon looked at Anya, then back at Leo. He gave a soft, almost imperceptible purr, a sound of contentment. He knew Leo was safe, happy, and among his own kind. His job was done. Later that day, Kion was released back into the wild. He wasn't a lonely wanderer anymore. He was a symbol of compassion and hope. His extraordinary story spread, told in hushed tones around campfires, a testament to the fact that kindness can be found in the most unexpected of places. He didn't find a new pride, but he wasn't alone. His journey with Leo had given him a new purpose, a different kind of strength. He walked the savannah with a different gait now, his head held high. He was still the king, but now he was a king who knew what it truly meant to protect and to love. And in the distance, a small gorilla was living its life, a living testament to the fact that even in the wild, the most shocking thing of all is often the most beautiful.